Hey friend, welcome to our Q&A today. This is Marisa with Learn and Be Well, and I help you nourish yourself inside and out. And today we're going to talk about whole foods, and we're going to talk about the questions you've asked me, and I'm super excited to get started. So real quick, I'm going to turn off my notifications on my phone because that is crazy when that breaks through. I don't know about you, but that just drives me nuts. And I want to make sure that I get to all the questions that were asked. So I'm going to look down at my computer screen here, make sure I have everything. And I took some notes so I can take care of you guys. Super excited. So, all right, let's see here. Got a couple of extra questions that came in right at the end. Okay. All right, so let's get started here. As you're jumping on, say hi. When you interact on live videos, it actually helps other people see it because Facebook gets this weird little thing where Facebook's like, oh, people actually care. And so you saying hi actually makes a huge difference to the other people that are wanting to interact or see this. And I know there were a lot of people who were like, hey, what's going on? Let me know what time it's at. So say hi, let me know what you're most excited about and what are you excited about for the new year? For me, I am excited to just keep going forward and to grow and improve. I have big plans. I've got some exciting things going on for this group. And so, hi, Courtney. Hey, Jennifer. So glad you're here. And all right, so let's get started here. The first question that was asked was, let's see here. I love salads in the spring and summer, but in the winter, I want to be warm. Do you have any recommendations for warm salads or warm and cozy plant-based meals? Absolutely. Okay, so a few years ago, I actually did an experiment. I did a 3-month raw food only diet. I did that in, I started it in, I want to say July. Something like that. Anyway, it was absolutely fantastic, and it uncovered a lot of things that I didn't realize about how food was interacting in my body, and I felt fantastic. It was absolutely amazing. Prior to that, I had been waking up every single morning feeling arthritic. My third child, I had had a horrible pregnancy, and I was nursing her, and every morning I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck, and it was sheer torture. So after that horrible pregnancy, feeling terrible still for a whole more year was awful. And I started to realize that there were some changes I needed to make. And when I did that raw food diet, I realized just how critical correctly prepared grains were. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But what happened is I live in the Pacific Northwest, and I had the same experience, sunshine, with wanting to be warm in the colder months. And even though that raw food diet was amazing during that summer, I couldn't keep it up, and I realized I needed some warm things. And so I started to do a lot of research into, okay, this raw food diet, there's a lot of huge positives for eating that huge fruits and vegetable load, but I still needed that warmth. And so I started to realize that there really is a cycle in the foods we eat. Hey, Rachel, so glad you're here. Happy New Year. Thanks for joining me. Okay, so what do I mean by cycle of foods? So you think about what's in season. When it's springtime, you have all those beautiful baby greens. You have all of those wonderful plants that are just coming up. And the thing is that when we eat them, it actually purifies our blood. It actually cleans out all the old sludge. It's just like the Happy New Year for our blood and our bodies. And then we get into the summer and we have the super high water foods. I mean, think about it. You got watermelon, you got peaches, they're just juicy, right? You've got cucumbers, which I know some of you don't like, but tomatoes, same thing. I know some of you don't like them, but they're really juicy and they're full of all that water. And that's because we need that thinner blood. And then as we move into the fall, what do we start harvesting? We harvest the squash, we harvest the potatoes, we harvest the yams, we harvest all these root vegetables. And those keep over the winter, and they also are thicker. They also kind of have a heaviness to them. So when you're looking for those winter foods that are going to be warming, you're going to gravitate more towards those root vegetables. Also broccoli, kale, cauliflower, all those heavier things, because they're going to warm the body. They're going to give you the substance you need. And frankly, a roasted potato or a roasted sweet potato is just comfort food. So one of my very, 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 very favorite meals that we eat at home is a curry potato soup. I think I posted the recipe in the group. I'm going to make a note to look for that. If I haven't, it'll be next week's recipe. And I love it because it just has good protein, has a little bit of fat. It has those really nourishing vegetables. Now, some people might be saying to me, Marisa, all those carbs. I'm going to talk a little bit more about carbs in a little bit, but let me just say that those vegetables that we harvest in the winter are the perfect food for the winter because they have the vitamin C you need. They have the vitamin A you need. They have the vitamins and minerals that are going to help propel you through the winter season and be healthier. And also, yes, they have carbs, but that sweet piece is actually going to help you satiate some of that sugar craving and stuff that goes on. And I'm not going into, we're talking about whole foods. So I think it goes without saying, we're not talking about fake sugars. Those are not going to give you that vitamin, minerals, the nutrient dense foods you need in your body. And they've got some side effects. So, you might be thinking, well, I could just take that, 0 calorie, fake sugar, whatever it is. Yeah, you could, but there's some serious side effects from that. So you want to stick with those whole foods. So Sunshine, hope that helped you. Is this helpful so far? Give me a 1 in the comments below if it is. And let's see here. Oops, lost my screen. Please tell me I can get it back. Good. All right. Chantel asked, I've been hearing about whole food plant-based diet and want to know more about it. Do you have any books to recommend? I do. Okay, so there's a couple of different kind of schools of thought. So I actually don't like the term whole food plant-based in terms of for my diet. I don't, even though that's primarily what I eat, there's kind of developed around it some politics. And a lot of people do attach no oil. And nothing wrong with no oil. The fat content, there's actually a great book called 80-10-10. It's more of a raw food book, but the principles are really actually very interesting to read about. If you ever wanted to hear an alternative perspective on diabetes and candida overgrowth, 80-10-10 is fantastic. And in my experience working with people and talking to people, even though we like to think that candida and diabetes are all carb-based, there's a lot of evidence that it's actually fat-based. So in terms of whole food plant-based, I don't, there's a lot of motion in eliminate all overt fats, eliminate the olive oil, the coconut oil, all those things. For me personally, I have found that they have a place. They just need to be used in very, 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 very small amounts, much smaller than most people would use. So I do not, shun them. So that's kind of a caveat here. So the books I have I generally will go for books that are mostly vegan or are labeled vegan, but don't include the fake meats because honestly, that's not whole food, right? And that gives you some good stuff. So a couple of my favorites that I have used extensively or know about here, Eat to Live, great book. It's going to give you some ideas. There's actually Dr. Furman as a medical doctor, and he's helped patients get off of high blood pressure medication, lose weight, get their diabetes medication under control. Really fantastic. He is that, no oil camp, and that's cool. And then another book, I don't know if it's still in print. I tried to look that up, but I ran out of time to find a link for it. I'll look again. Is Original Fast Foods. It goes into all the details of kind of where we got our RDA, the recommended daily allowances. It also goes into some diet stuff, recipes and things. There is a website, so there is some information about it out there still. I will look again. Oh She Glows is a great blog, and it's also, there's a couple of cookbooks that go with it. She really does focus on those whole food, plant-based meals, and they taste pretty good. She does use oil, so if you're on that no oil side, then you'll have to modify a little bit. There's another book out there called How Not to Die. I've not actually read this one, but heard great things about it, and it's on hold at the library for me right now. And then another one I've used is Let Them Eat Vegan. So those are a couple of books recommended. I also mentioned 80-10-10 earlier. And if you need more recommendations, go ahead, shoot me a message, and I'll, kind of give you an idea of what I got on my bookshelf. Okay, hope that helps. How is this working for you guys? Am I giving you lots of great things to chew on? I hope so. All right, so Angela asks, what would you recommend for someone who doesn't enjoy a lot of variety in vegetables, especially when they cannot stand tomatoes or cucumbers? Those seem to be staples. Great, eliminate the tomatoes and cucumbers. They don't have to be staples. There are lots of times where they're not in my diet for weeks on end. I do love them, but they're just not always in my diet. So number one, feel free to not eat the vegetable that you absolutely cannot stand. But here's the other thing. I don't know what you're eating. My experience is most people who say I don't like lots of vegetables, it's because they eat a lot of processed foods and they eat a lot of sugar and a lot of fat, a lot of oils. So if you can cut those things down, if you can eliminate the sugar, if you can eliminate the processed, then your taste buds actually start to change. And what you start to find is things are very, very sweet without that processing, and the vegetables and the fruits become more palatable. Back when I did that raw food diet I mentioned earlier, my very, very favorite cookie is molasses ginger cookies. Love them. And I had done this raw food diet. I had been doing it for like 4 months. So I had been totally refined sugar free, right? Refined sugar and flour free. And I went somewhere and I ended up being given a ginger molasses cookie from Starbucks. I took one bite of that thing and it tasted like overly sweet cardboard. It was the most disgusting thing I had eaten. Oh my gosh, it was awful. And I realized in that moment how true it really is that if you take out the foods that you're not, if you take out the really stimulating foods, then your body is going to adjust and you're actually going to start to like the things that are less stimulating, but you're going to find that's going to help be helpful. So that's tip number one. Hey, Becky, so glad you joined us. Hey, Sarah, so glad you joined us. I love having you join us on the lives. Hope this is helpful for you. Let me know how, if there's any more questions you're cooking up in your brains. I'm happy to answer. Okay, so back to that topic of, what else about the food? So after you've eliminated, and refined salt. So, that Morton salt, that iodized salt, all that kind of stuff, that's also very, very stimulating. It's dulling your taste buds and it makes it harder to appreciate the subtle flavors in the vegetables and the fruits. And so they just don't taste good. The other thing is change the way you're preparing them. I am a firm believer that if there's a vegetable or fruit or something that you don't like, it's because you've never had it prepared right. I have found that to be true over and over and over again in my life, and taste buds change. I used to hate cilantro and I used to hate peppers. I still don't particularly like green ones just because they're bitter. But I can eat them now. They don't like drive me crazy anymore. But the one food that I have to say I don't know about is okra. I know a lot of people really love it. I have yet to have it prepared in a way I like it, but I think that's just because it's not one that's been in my circle. And so when I attempted to prepare it, honestly, I think I did it wrong. So I'm willing to give it a try again. Someone can prepare it to me who's really awesome with okra, and I will happily try it again. But so give it a try. If you've been, boiled vegetables are gross unless it's soup. So don't boil them. Go ahead and try roasting, try steaming, try, shredding it really fine. And if all else fails, blend it up and stick it in a sauce or something like that and hide it. So hope that helps you, Angela. Okay, Carol asks, must a whole food diet include grains? How do we use grains without gaining weight? And can a whole food diet include meat? Okay, this is a very big question. Lately, there has been a big push for having, for keto. And I am 100% anti-keto. except for in very, 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 very specific cases. Keto was actually developed to help people with epilepsy who were not getting help from medication. And I think there is a possibility of a very rare chance, for very rare, that it's helpful for some people. But for the majority of people, long-term keto is not healthy. And it's really, honestly, Atkins revisited. And Atkins caused all kinds of negative problems for people. And long-term keto will lead to weight gain. So I'm just putting that out there. I am anti-keto. However, there are some great principles there. High vegetables. If done right, keto includes vegetables at every meal, includes very, very high vegetable content. And so that's fantastic. So in terms of, does a whole food diet have to include grains? No, it doesn't have to include grains. I do think they are beneficial if prepared correctly. And that means that they're either sprouted or they're sourdough. I do believe that you should avoid flour and flour products. Here's the thing. When we eat food, we put it in our bodies and we chew it all up, and there's receptors that start looking for the vitamins and minerals that we need and all the other macronutrients we need. And then it sends a signal to our brain and says, brain, you're full because we have everything we need. But when we consume flour and flour products, pasta, that kind of stuff. Now, again, I'm not talking about your sprouted or sourdough grains. Those are actually digested more like a vegetable than a grain. So what happens is the brain says, I'm not full. I'm not full. I mean, if you've ever eaten a bag of tortilla chips, you can eat the whole thing and you're still not full, right? But you just ate, 1,000 calories? And so you're not getting that signal to the brain. So we need to have the high vitamin content, the high mineral content, the high macro content, not necessarily the fat or the straight carbs, but it's really those vitamins, minerals. So when we eliminate those flour products, we can open the door for those properly prepared grains. And a lot of people think grains have to be at the bottom of the food pyramid. No. That was a terrible idea. It was paid for by the grain, the grain industry. It was a terrible idea. So I drew a little picture here. Hope this helps. This is my food pyramid. So vegetables is on the bottom. This includes very, very high amount of leafy greens. They're so, so important for our bodies. Then here I have fruits and legumes. Up here, I have properly prepared grains, and nuts and seeds, and oh wait, I didn't get my grains on here. Actually, sorry, I forgot to write the grains on here. Here we go. All right, there we go. Grains is going to be here, and then you have your nuts and seeds. And here is meat if you're going to partake of it. Now I'm going to say, if you're going to partake of meat, it needs to be we used to hear when I was a kid, the size of your hand, it needs to be a deck of cards. It needs to be 3 ounces, like that. No. Meat is very, very high in protein. What happens when we have too high a protein content is it stresses our pancreas, it stresses our liver, and your body has to deal with it. Protein is important, but there's not a person in the United States who's protein deficient. We just aren't. Especially when we look at vegetables. If you're eating all those vegetables, you're actually getting all those proteins, all those amino acids you need for those proteins. So even though it might not say, your cup of broccoli might not have the same RDA figure on it if you were to put like a nutrition label, calorie for calorie, you're actually getting the same or better in terms of the nutrients. So what you need to realize is that your body also pieces them together and puts them together. So so the meats can be fantastic if you want to do free range, and definitely organic or wild caught fish. Please don't do farmed fish. Farmed fish is gross. But it needs to be more like a condiment. It's the flavoring. It's the a chicken breast would feed a family of 4. That's the kind of quantity you would want to look at, because you don't want to overtax the body. It takes far too long to eliminate the meat from the intestinal tract, and so it starts to ferment in there, and so you don't want too much going on with that fermentation. And so that's my thought on meat, is if you're going to eat it sparingly. Eat a little bit as that flavoring. And I became whole food plant-based. I was already started on that journey, but then my second child was born, and she was allergic to all animal products other than fish. And that led me to not having any chicken, any beef, anything for years. And I found that, every once in a great while, like maybe 4 years, I will really, 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 really want a turkey sandwich. Can't stand the smell or taste of chicken, but occasionally a turkey sandwich. And I went into, we have a place like Whole Foods, it's called PCC here. And I went in and I said, can I have this vegetable sandwich? And can you put 1 slice of turkey on it? And they were like, okay. Because buying their turkey sandwich was way too much meat. And so they did that for me. And I'll tell you, that just like satisfied everything. I just needed whatever that was, that little teeny bit that I needed in there. And that's fine. So, I'm not totally regimented on that, but yes, whole food can include a little bit of meat if that's what you need. Okay, hope I explained that well. Oh, and how do you use grains without gaining weight? Again, that's flour products, and the right quantities. Focus on those vegetables, and then those properly prepared grains are just a portion of the whole. Properly prepared grains are super high in vitamin B, which is really good for your emotional health. So that's really good. Okay. Jennifer has asked about meal planning for a 30-day whole food thing. So Jennifer, sorry, I cannot give you the meat that he really likes. My advice is skip meat analogs. They don't help. I personally find going to ethnic food recipes is always lots of fun. So use, Indian food recipes, use Asian food recipes, and you're going to get those flavors. Use really great spices. That's going to make a huge difference. And if you need specific things, shoot me a message and I'll see if I have a substitution for you. But if you're not, as long as you're not trying to duplicate, because here's the thing, a lot of people are like, okay, I'll try this plant-based thing. And then they try to duplicate the recipes that they used to like, and it doesn't taste the same. And so, I used to love a meatloaf. I know some people think that's gross, but my mom made really great meatloaf and I loved it. And so I attempted to make meatloaf, sort of. Please excuse me while I throw up. It was disgusting. I could not get it right. I couldn't get the texture right. I couldn't get decent flavor. It was nasty. And if you try to do that, you're just going to get frustrated. So focus on those great things. Focus on the strengths rather than trying to duplicate what isn't there. So I hope that helps. I gave you some recipe books. And Jennifer, I know you live close to me. The King County Library System has an amazing array of cookbooks. So give them a shot. That will help. And let's see here. All right. And sprouting and nutrition and whole food plant-based storage would be helpful. Okay. So having seeds is super great. Learning to garden, that's something I'm currently working on. I actually have a collection of freeze-dried fruits and vegetables in my pantry. For my food storage, I have a lot of beans, I have a lot of grains, and then I do have cans of coconut milk, because coconut milk is a great substitution for cream in anything that you really just need that creamy mouthfeel for. What else do I have in there? And then again, nuts and seeds, I have a store of those. They only keep about a year because they will go rancid, but you can keep in your freezer and that helps. What else do I have? Trying to think. Yeah, that's kind of what I do for food storage. And let's see here. And then sprouting. Thanks, Carol. Appreciate it. So learning about sprouting. I think I did a video a little while ago about sprouting, but we can do some more coming up soon. But really it's just about, you start out soaking things. So if it's the grains, you want to soak them, let them sit overnight, and then go ahead and use them. Same thing with your legumes. You can do it also with almonds. And almonds are fun because once you soak them, you can then dehydrate them and then they get like crunchy like croutons. They're kind of fun that way. Also, you can store these soaked almonds in a glass of water in your fridge for a couple of days. And my kids love them. So those are a couple ways you can do that. And then if you wanted to do like, oh, and that's the other thing in terms of food storage, have a bag of like sprouting seeds. Have the broccoli seeds, the radish seeds, the alfalfa sprouts, the clover sprouts, all of those things. All you need is a mason jar and those sprouting seeds, which are much, 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 much cheaper than if you buy like the little like gardening seeds. You want sprouting seeds, and they're actually fairly inexpensive. And you just need that mason jar. You're gonna fill it full of water, put that tablespoon of seeds in there, let it sit overnight, drain it out, and let it sit on the counter. Rinse it twice a day. Make sure to drain it really well and watch it grow. It's super easy. And you can get some like mesh screen screw-on lids like for on a mason jar on Amazon for like $7 or $8. And they're pretty inexpensive. So you just want really fine mesh. That's the best way. My grandma used to go get like, she would just use the regular canning lid, the canning rings. And then she would just put like a piece of screen from like the window screens on there. And that's how she always did it. So or you could use like nylons. You don't even need to buy anything really. You could use an old nylon that had a hole, a run or something, stick that on there, screw it down with your ring from that mason jar, and you're good to go. So I hope that was helpful. This was super fun. Should we do this again? Let me know. Did you appreciate the Q&A? Let me know if you want me to do it again. And what was your biggest takeaway today? I hope you have a happy new year. And I hope that we can make this next year a happy, healthy new year. Onward and upward. Bye-bye.